completed SN65 Mustang. And later, we're installing a Hydro Boost brake booster to radically improve braking performance. But first, let's head out to Finish Line Performance to dyno the SN65, brought to you by MSD Ignition.
V8TV brought the SN65 Mustang today. It was built by Bob and Wayne Julian, and as you can see behind me, it's a yellow 65 Mustang on top of an 03 Cobra chassis. It's a beautiful car, and if you didn't know it, you'd never know it didn't come off the line that way. They did an excellent job.
Last time you were out, it was in pieces, yet we were still putting it together. Now we got it finished. We did get it finished up just before we went off to the Autorama. I
was really impressed with this car. There's a lot of cars that are built like this that you see at shows all the time that are lucky if they can drive themselves out of the show. This car actually drives. He drove it here. In fact, when he came today, I told him I was impressed that he actually drove it, didn't bring it on a trailer. We've been trying to take and get it dialed in as far as performance goes. So today we're at Finish Line Performance doing a dyno session to check it out.
The SN65 was built to drive, and that's why Bob Julian brought it to Finish Line Performance for a dyno run and a Diablo Sport tune-up.
Well, actually, it's kind of the most important thing. I think the car has to perform, right? If it doesn't, you know, what's the purpose of spending all of this time on a car that's just going to sit there, right? You want the car to perform. It's got to be at least as good as a late model Cobra or better, and that was the goal. It just had to. If it didn't, the whole project would have been pretty much a nice exercise, but a waste of time.
Stay with us. We're going to see just how much power the SN65 really makes when V8TV returns. Welcome back to V8TV as we tune the SN65 Mustang. The moment of truth had arrived for the SN65. Dan Bills at Finish Line Performance tapped into the car's electronics with a Diablo Sport Predator handheld programmer to tune the car, and it was time for the first dyno run.
The first pull we made on the car, I was actually really impressed with it. It made a little over 400 horsepower and 390 foot-pounds of torque.
Stock Cobras put out somewhere around 365 horsepower to the rear wheels, and currently the drivetrain on here is stock. The only change we've made is the air intake. We had to modify the air intake to fit into the 65 body, and the exhaust. We have a MagnaFlow full exhaust with catalytic converters and all of that stuff on the car.
The first run was impressive, but the dyno revealed an issue.
On the first pull that we made, I noticed on the car it had some misfires. You could see in the graph. It actually dips in the power and the torque, which is actually pretty common with cars, supercharged cars that run a stock factory plug. We're going to change out the spark plugs, see if that eliminates a little dip that we got in the curve when they did the dyno pull. We're going to run it again. He's going to take and alter the fuel mixture, and I don't think he said he was going to do anything with the timing, but he's going to just modify a couple of those things to tweak them in. I think, you know, we'll probably be somewhere around the same on the horsepower and torque when we're done. We'll just eliminate some of the breakup we got because of the spark plug issue. And we put in an NGK plug, which I use on most of the stuff, and that cured that problem. It got the misfires to go away.
Changing spark plugs took care of the misfire, but another problem developed.
After we made the first run with the new spark plugs in it, the misfires had went away and the power and the torque were pretty much the same. We then made a third pull with it, and the power came way down. We lost almost 70 horsepower. We were like 70 horsepower down from the 400 run, around 330, is that right? 330. And couldn't figure out why. So we took and we pulled all the plugs, and even though we had gapped them all before we put them in, the gaps closed.
the gaps closed on the plugs, and that was an issue.
After we looked around a little bit to see what might be the problem, the gap on the spark plugs had actually closed, which explanation for that? I don't have one. The air fuel in the car is good, the timing's good, there was no reason that they should have done that, but they actually closed by about 10,000, so the gap was really bad. So we pulled all the plugs, regapped them, put it back in, went to make another pull, and it was fine up until about 5,800. It started breaking up really bad, so I shut the car off.
Once again, Dan turned to the Diablo Sport Predator for an inside look to see what was going on in the mind of the Cobra.
The Predator also has the ability to show you trouble codes, clear trouble codes, and it has a diagnostic screen where you can go in and actually log parameters of your car during a quarter-mile run or on the dyno.
We started checking things again and found that one of the injector harnesses wasn't plugged in.
That's actually how we found that the injector plug was not plugged on all the way. Is it the car had set a code, which I read with the Predator, which was a 204, which was an injector code. And that's when we started looking at the injector wiring to see if we could find what was wrong.
Someone didn't plug in the fuel injector clips all the way on the car. I should have checked that kind of stuff. So when you're building this kind of stuff, just make sure everything's plugged in all the way, all the time, all the way across the board.
The biggest problem with that is if you have an injector plug that's on the injector, not plugged in all the way, it could intermittently fire the injector. And if it does that, that cylinder will go really lean and it could burn a piston very easily. Once we plugged that back in, made another pull, everything was right back where it belonged.
When we started out on the air-fuel mixture, we were running real lean at low RPMs and then real rich up at the higher RPM levels. So they took and they readjusted the air-fuel mixture to level it out.
The Diablo Predator that was sent to us is a handheld programmer that you plug into the car. It comes from Diablo with 4 or 5 different tunes depending on any modifications you might have to your car. And it's something that's simple plug and play. You plug it into the computer port on your car and you download a program into it. You can even modify it a little bit, 5% of fuel either way. You can modify timing up a couple degrees if you'd like. Or if you bring it to someone who has the software to tune them, I can build a custom program to put in the Predator and then put that in your car.
So after we plugged that in, ran the dyno one more time and ended up right around 400 horsepower, 380 foot-pounds of torque. That was where we were at. But everything's real hot on the blower and the engine and stuff, so I'm real happy with the way it came out.
The tuning that we did on the car today was not really what I would consider a full tune. The car came in, we did a baseline on it. I noticed that it was a little lean down to the lower RPM, and they road race this car a little bit. So I wanted to at least bring that down for them so that it was at a safer level. The up top stuff we didn't really worry about because they're going to do some more modifications to the car and end up bringing it back to tune it then.
We're probably going to go with a Whipple twin screw blower upgrade. We're going to be talking to them about what has to be done to get us to our 550 horsepower goal for the car. And then end up with something that performs well pretty much in a broad range of applications. But now I'm real happy with the way it runs. 400 horsepower with just a air intake upgrade and an exhaust upgrade and a program modification seems really good.